Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard Hot Dance charts in immaculate detail, with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. It's so funny, I was saying last week how 2024 had some genuine promise, especially with the top debut being a song getting a big boost of momentum off of Saltburn as an established hit from over a decade ago at least, and guess what, this week is exactly the same. Our top debut is a song getting a boost from Saltburn and only one other debut below it. That was honestly a lot more unexpected in this case, but still, a week that was actually genuinely good and one that I'm actually really excited to talk about. So anyways, our top 10 where Houdini by Dua Lipa is still at number 1, and look, while I see this easily getting knocked down by a massive debut that's coming in the next 2 weeks, seriously, be prepared for it, it's going to be huge. The fact that this is absolutely still gaining on radio and has really good stream behind it, yeah, this is going to stick around, great news to see. What's more worrying though is Strangers by Kenya Grace at number 2, and look, it did surge on the Hot 100, it's got a lot of staying power ahead of it, but still, the radio is slow with this one, and even if streaming is much better than Houdini, it's just not that big of a difference, meaning that this isn't going to get back to number 1 anytime soon. Just wonderful. But unfortunately, what expectedly rebounded up to fill in a song dropping out was I'm Good Blue by David Guetta and B. Rexa. And look, while it is obviously not going away, the fact that it isn't going to get any higher is a good sign, and with the songs going below it as well as, again, that huge debut, this is going to fall victim to the 78-week rule at this rate, thank Christ. Oh, and speaking of which, our big expected gain within the top 10 was Murder on the Dance Floor by Sophie Ellis-Bextor up to number 4, and look, it's really good to see that this finally hit the Hot 100 for the first time in the history of this chart, but still, it's got considerable momentum behind it. It's still gaining on streaming, and with the radio slowly getting back on board with it, yeah, this might actually have a chance of being a proper hit. Great to see. And thank God all of these strand My House by Beyonce at number 5, which is utterly falling hard on streaming, but just has such a big margin there that it isn't going to fall fast just yet. But then there's the interesting case, Prada by Casu Ray and D Block Europe at number 6, where it actually is considerably strong on streaming, but more importantly that it overtook Ecstasy by Suicidal Idol at number 7. And look, I can't really complain that the song is finally starting to go away. Streaming is the only format that's been embracing it its entire run, and when that starts to collapse, yeah, this is over. Good riddance. But then there's 2 interesting changes in the top 10, starting with Rush by Troye Sivan rebounding up to number 8. And really, this is an interesting case too, considering this is on its 26th week. If it falls below the top 10, it's victim to recurrent rules, and given the huge amount of debuts I see happening in the top 10 over the next month, I can see this finally going away. Honestly, it had a much better run than I expected. But we also had a new arrival that wasn't particularly exciting for me, Dreaming by Marshmello, Pink, and Sting at number 9. And look, this doesn't even have radio yet, it's only off the huge streaming margins, and that really disappoints me because, man, the song is boring as tar. It's not bad by any means, and I can see this having a decent amount of staying power in the top 10, but it's not interesting. There's better Marshmello songs we could have pushed here. Oh, and finally, Ella Verga by Alex Favela, Grupo Marqueta de Estrada, and Joaquin Medina is at number 10. Look, this is still gaining a decent amount on the Latin chart, so I can see this at least having some staying power. It will have to be really if radio decides to get on board, which given the sound of it's not sure, but you know, it could happen. But really, when you get to the falls and fall-offs, outside the predictable dropout of DJ Play a Christmas Song by Cher, which will make the year-end list, the rest of these aren't remotely notable at all. I mean, Summertime Friends by the Chainsmokers collapses to 50 as the remix gains are not holding on at all. This is going to be gone come next week. Vocation by Ozuna and David Guetta took a minor hit to 35 as it seems like it's generally underperforming in comparison to his other songs here. And most interestingly, I Love You Ho by Oda Tari and 9 Lives fell hard to 23. And look, as this is the only song that's left from that album, the fact that it's not sticking around at all is more indicative of an album that's just had no staying power at all. I mean, Door to Dusk is gone too. That's really telling there. But you know what? I can't really complain that much because when you get to our jumps and comebacks, my god, there are some great signs here. I mean, our comebacks especially are just fantastic across the board, with Body Moving by Lisa Rose and Calvin Harris back at 39 thanks to the remixes. Little Things Gypsy Woman L Beats Mashup by Georgia Smith somehow still going strong at 45 this long after it fell out. And even Adore You by Fred again and Obong Jaya getting a nice boost to 48. And look, it may be just because of the new singles, but still, the fact that all of these songs are sticking around is really damn promising. Hell, when you look at our gains, Leave Me Alone by Fred again and Baby Keem is up to 13. And look, it may be just because of Near Archive's remix, but the fact that this song has had so much staying power is legitimately great. It and 10 have probably locked for a year and list spot at this point, and that's genuinely great for this year. Oh, and just as promising, On My Love by Zara Larsson and David Guetta is at 31, and even with Pop Airplay throwing this out, the fact that this is actually gaining considerable momentum regardless of that is genuinely really damn promising. I think streaming's gotten on board with this. Great to see, it's a great song. But anyways, only 2 debuts this week yet again, one of which is here because of Saltburn. Let's repeat ourselves again, starting off with number 26, Head Down by Lost Frequencies and Bastille.
The ground, don't hang your head down, head down.
Honestly, it feels like Lost Frequencies has been overdue for a debut this high since Where Are You Now's success, becoming one of the biggest streamed songs of the entire year of 2022. The fact that he just hasn't been able to follow it up has really been unfortunate, especially with Questions being a really solid song. That one really got robbed of a proper run. Unfortunately, Lost Frequencies' success nowadays is really inconsistent. Did any of you actually remember that he dropped an album this year? It just seemed to come and go. So of course he collaborates with Bastille for the most European collab possible for a song that wasn't even on the album. Is it at least good? Well, okay, it's fine, but there's some serious things that are really holding me back from properly liking this. I mean, I do dig the breezier tone and those lighter guitars that float around on the verses. They do sound quite nice and create a really nice atmosphere, and Dan Smith of Bastille at least sounds invested here. You can tell that this sort of breezy tropical house vibe works well for him, and he actually sounds really damn nice here. But then there's those MIDI programmed horns that come in on the drop, and my god, I just lost interest immediately. And it's weird too, because the drops have this weirdly empty feel to them. I get they're trying to switch things up, but really, you had some genuine promise with the verses. Why do they sound so jarring and out of place? It's especially weird in Lost Frequencies' case too, because the guy can create some really clean mixes when he wants to. Reality and Are You With Me already showed that off early on, and he's really been proving it with his recent songs, so why does this sound so dry and flat? So yeah, it's a fine enough song, but man, I wish I could get into this more. We'll have to see if this actually sticks around, because Lost Frequencies' success in the United States is really inconsistent, but as for now, just okay for me. I wanted to like this more. And number 12, Perfect Exceeder by Mason and Princess Superstar. The second established hit song from over a decade ago that's charting because of Saltburn, although in this case I was actually a lot more curious about this one because I was nowhere near as familiar with this as I was with Murder on the Dance Floor. So for context, Mason is a Dutch producer who released a song back in 2007, a collaboration with a relatively unknown indie rock singer in Princess Superstar, where both artists have really not been able to follow this up with any sort of momentum. Seriously, the new songs have got absolutely terrible streaming for artists of their caliber. But anyways, this song was actually a pre-established hit in the United Kingdom back in 2007, where it actually hit the top 20 and also charted in several places around Europe, which is interesting. And really, it was the sort of push for Armada music that they had back then and also are actually getting nowadays, where it's one of their biggest songs to date. And honestly, just like Murder on the Dance Floor, I cannot complain at all about this getting a push because I actually like this one a lot too. Yes, it's a lot more dated sounding with that late 2000s electro house sound that was popular by artists like Deadmau5 and Mellyfresh. Honestly, you could slot them in next to those collabs and it would actually sound really fitting there. But it's the sort of sound that I've honestly grown to really appreciate over the years. It's got this nostalgic bent to it that really reminisces back on a really good time for pop music. I really like the consistently hard-hitting production with those really buzzy synths against the really driving percussion, and Princess Superstar has the sort of personality that, yes, while absolutely ridiculous, really plays into the cheesy vibes of this song absolutely well for me. It's a sort of trashy hookup song that I'm honestly glad is charting now. Yes, by the second verse where she's detailing all of her parts, the song just gets absolutely embarrassing and really ridiculous. But really, for this sort of braggadocious flex track where she's showing all of her personality at this club, it's the sort of sound that really does work wonders for her. So yeah, ton of fun, glad that this got a revival in the United States. Let's hope this actually sticks around too. It's really damn good as well. And yeah, just like Murder on the Dance Floor, this is easily getting the best of the week for me. Although, unlike last week, there were many problems with Head Down by Lost Frequencies and Bastille where I have to give it the worst of the week. Look, it's not a bad song by any means, but there are so many problems with it that prevent it from being good for me, and unlike Untitled 13, this felt more deserving of the worst of the week. Next week is The Calm Before the Storm, as we're expecting Ariana Grande to debut at #1, and given some of the other debuts on the horizon that are very likely to impact the charts, January is going to be a complete mess. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's all for this episode of An Analysis of Dance. See you next time.